Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to introduce my friend, Dr. Polyanna Bispo. We go back ways. We studied at the same place back in Brazil, so we both did some sort of postgraduate education at the National Institute for Space Research in Brazil. Since then, Polyanna had a postdoc with ESA and then a Marie Curie Fellowship at the University of Leicester. And since 2019, she has been a lecturer, now a senior lecturer in physical geography at the University of Manchester. I'm not going to comment on what she researches because you're about to see that, but I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Thiago. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for being here. Very happy to be able to share a little bit of my work with you. So Thiago did a nice presentation. I have one slide here as well, illustrating a little bit what he what he mentioned. Thank you, Thiago. So yeah, we met in INPE in Brazil, where I did my master and my PhD. I'm a biologist. And then when I went to European Space Agency and later on in Leicester, I started to improve a little bit my knowledge in remote sensing, specifically in radar, in SAR. I'm working with different types of sensors, but I'm working with multi-frequency SAR to try to monitor tropical forests. Okay, so today, I'm gonna then try to do an overview about the applications of Earth observation for tropical forest structure and disturbance monitoring, specifically in the tropics, but with some case studies in the Amazon and Brazilian Cerrado. So I'm gonna show you 3 or 4 case studies that illustrate a little bit the main opportunities and challenges related with this topic. Okay, so yeah, in December of 2019, I moved to my position in the University of Manchester, and since then I'm trying to start to connect and collaborate a little bit more with researchers here in UK as well. Okay. I would like to take the opportunity as well to introduce a little bit of some of the components of the research group that at the moment, I'm trying to build in the Department of Geography in Manchester. The majority of people that are working with me there, they are working with multi-sensor approaches and applied in forest disturbances. I have at the moment 2 PhD students finished already. Thaisa Cook, that was a PhD student from UNB in Brazil, and she was studying forest degradation caused by selective logging in the Amazon using Cosmo SkyMed, that is a type of SAR radar, using machine learning techniques. Then we have also Natalia Whitaker, that she used multi-frequency SAR, alus pulsar, that is a wavelength a little bit more longer, and Sentinel-1 in C-band to detect forest volume loss, also caused by selective logging in a specific area in Brazil, Tapajós National Forest in the Amazon. Okay, these two PhD students, they are in Brazil. They are not from Manchester, but still collaborating with us. And then Shuanzi is my PhD student at the University of Manchester, and he's studying transitions, ecotones, transitions environment, specifically the transition Amazon Cerrado, Brazilian savanna, where we have the arc of the deforestation. If you look at the map, you see the Amazon being beaten. And this comes from Cerrado, where we have the agriculture expansion, we have a lot of soya beans expansion, and all of this is impacting both biomes, and the transition zone is the one that is suffering the most. So he's using deep learning and different sensors as well, optical and SAR, to analyze these different types of vegetation. And now the last three, Katie Bowles, studying indigenous lands in Brazil as well. She's focusing her PhD in studying deforestation dynamics and carbon emissions in this area, with specific focus on the different governments that we have in Brazil, considering also COVID-19 and all the problems, political problems that we had there, how this impacted the land use, land cover, and these carbon emissions in indigenous lands in Brazil. Sanji, from Indonesia, he is working with, is a more multidisciplinary thing that he's doing. He's exploring the role of social forestry and marine protected areas in mangrove conservation and poverty alleviation. His focus is mangrove restoration, and he's using a little bit of remote sensing optical data sets to do that. And finally, Krishna from India, that she's starting now, and she aimed to study forest degradation in India as well, using remote sensing. Okay, and besides the research group that we start to build, that I'm starting to build with some colleagues in Manchester, I created and I'm leading international, let's say informal, but kind of international research group with some colleagues who are passionate about tropical forests and remote sensing. And it's called Remote Sensing Applied to Tropical Environments Research Group, RSAT. You can follow us on Twitter. And basically, yes, we're using remote sensing applied to tropical environments, but we also try to support in this movement of inclusion, diversity, quality diversity inclusion within the field of remote sensing as well. We did a workshop in Living Planet Symposium. We contributed, actually, not did, we contributed for a workshop in Living Planet Symposium. That's a conference from ESA in 2022, and also in the Brazilian Symposium of Remote Sensing as well. We're little by little try to supporting this as well, besides of the research part. And it's a group that is interesting because we have people from academia, from NGOs, and from industry as well. So it's quite interesting. And it's been producing interesting things. So finally, let's start about the research. So basically I'm been using different types of data sets, field information, more specifically forest inventories, integrating this with Earth observation, remote sensing, and using data analysis, machine learning, deep learning, to study how the tropical, how is it the different factors, environmental factors, which shape biodiversity, forest structure, and carbon. And within this context, I am focusing more at the moment in how to improve the estimation of biomass and carbon stocks, and what is the impact of disturbances in this forest structure in the Amazon. And as everybody know, the tropical forests, they are very important, and they play this important role in carbon stocks, in climate regulation, and is also a home of the most biodiversity that we have in the planet, and cover around 45% of all in area, considering the tropical forest cover. Okay, it's a large amount of our planet, and unfortunately, in the last decades, and more specifically the last decade, this deforestation, forest degradation in these areas being increasing exponentially. And the importance of the tropical forest specifically thinking about the Amazon, the example that I'm including here is the Amazon, considering the Amazon rainforests, for example, is that this forest is very, very complex, right? So you have this density of trees with thousands, you have thousands of species. 800 billion is estimated that tropical forest has 800 billion tropical forest trees. That is a large amount, and most of them are suffering with all these impacts, all the disturbances that is happening there. So this forest is formed, as you see, by different types of different strata, the complex different strata, going from forest floor. You have then understory, subcanopy, main canopy, and emergent layer. So you have these different levels where you have different habitats and different microclimates as well, depending of the position that you have. And it helps to have this boom of different environments where different species, fauna and flora can thrive. And again, as I mentioned, because of all this complexity, it's difficult somehow to monitor. It's difficult to have a good estimates what is happening in the forest. And the Earth observation can help us to improve our knowledge. It not solve all the problems, but help us to advance a little bit more. Okay. So here in this photo, you have an example of these different layers that I just, in a little bit more detail that I just showed before, emergent tree here. And an example of forest disturbance, that's fires that everybody knows from the news that is happening and increasing the frequency of these forest fires and other disturbances due to climate change, due to the intensity of land use, land cover, and so on. So what I wanted to show today is that we are losing a lot of these forests. Né? So here I have an example for you. What happened with for example, the Amazon here that you can see here. In the last, from 2021 to 2019. So the purple areas, this is a product from Global Forest Watch. You see what is happening in terms of deforestation. That's the clear cut. So you have all the purple areas here, they are deforestation. And they are kind of biting and invading and expanding very rapidly in all tropical forests. But here you can see like very clear in the Amazon that's happening. Every area that have accessibility now, this is increasing. Rivers, roads, and for example, this specific area here that you're seeing here is the area we have like airstripes, illegal airstripes increase in the last few years for gold mining exploration, illegal gold mining exploration in indigenous lands. So it's we are very worried with the situation, not only in the Amazon, but the entire different biomes in the world. And the focus for many years was in deforestation, but now we're also talking a lot about forest degradation because we are seeing that the impacts, they are expanding, and forest degradation are overcoming deforestation, is damaging the forest as well. So, but thinking about the definition, what is deforestation? Deforestation is when you remove totally the forest. Okay, you can remove the forest. There is no forest. For example, in this photo here that you see, and in this one as well. Okay, so, and what is a degraded forest? Degraded forest is a result of a process of degradation. And example, illegal logging, fires, the expansion of roads, extraction of randomly trees in the forest by selective or illegal logging. So this process of degradation affects negatively the structural and functional characteristics of the forest. That means that you have some trees that are still stand. You don't have this clear cut. You have some trees still stand, but all the context, all that forest, lose the capabilities in terms of functionalities. It doesn't work well, basically. The health of the forest is affected negatively. So here's just an example to make a bit more clear. So we have here intact forests in the theoretical world. So you have then three canopies that they are dense and they create discover that all this canopy is closed and have the emergent trees, but they are closed. Then you have healthy habitats for more species of animals to live in these areas. Another aspect, you have less wind at ground level. You have less effect of this kind of natural disturbances, let's see, in the forest. And you have soil and air are more humid, masking it, making it more difficult for fire to spread because it's more humid, so it's less dry. It's more resilient to fire. Then you have the degraded forest that basically, as you can see here, you have some trees that were removed in this figure. So due to this damage, you have a canopy that is more open, and therefore you have less habitats, less species. You have the edges more exposed to winds, more exposed to disturbances, causing then a domino effect where you have trees mortalities increasing in the borders, and also the soil become a bit more drier, and you have dead trees. And if you have, because you have, for example, more dead material, dead trees in there, and the soil is more dry, if you have a fire, it's spread much easier. So now we are talking about these two things, degradation and deforestation. And there are many studies now showing that the degradation is surpassing the forest degradation in terms of carbon emissions. And some studies also say that ecosystems like the Amazon are now acting more like a carbon source than carbon sink because of all these disturbances, all these problems that are happening there. And recently we saw a new study also showing that Amazon, for example, arrived already in the tipping point, where it is very difficult to come back if nothing will be done in terms of conservation, restoration, policy attitudes towards the conservation of these ecosystems. Okay. Oops, I'm coming back. Okay, so this being said, all this complexity, all these problems that we have in tropical forests, because it happens in a very, very large scale, we need to make the use, as you know, of tools that have access today, that is remote sensing, Earth observation. But the interesting thing about this is because is increasing, the amount of data that we have is increasing exponentially so fast. 10 years, 12 years ago. Yeah, I'm not reveal my age, but yeah, when I did my PhD some years ago, I used one image and I paid for the software. I used one SAR image, very expensive, Alus Pulsar, for polarizations. Who works with radar here knows that. And I did in Brazil 4 years the PhD. So I was 4 years working with one image, and the software that I used was paid. And they needed to buy some plugin to put in there. So it was very, very difficult. And if you think in time, it's not long ago, it's 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And today we are talking about not that satellite, that sensor. We're talking about a constellation of satellites. And it's not one constellation of satellites, several constellations of satellites. We are talking about European Space Agency constellation of satellites, the Sentinels. We are talking about NASA constellation of satellites, JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency constellation of satellites. So we have so many products in orbit that at some point we're not seeing the sun anymore because we have so many. And on the other hand, you have these softwares free available. Everybody that wants to work with satellite images now are able to do that. And this is is amazing, and it's very nice. It's very good, and creates a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of challenges. And considering forest monitoring, I can talk a little bit about the challenges and the opportunities related to that for you today. And in this context of these different types of sensors, this constellation of satellites, we have mainly, let's say I put here three different types of remote sensor types of sensors. That's the radar that works, that's more sensitive to, let's say, physical characteristics or geometric characteristics of your forest, and works in the microwave, so it's capable to penetrate clouds and penetrate the canopy, depending of the wavelength, the canopy of the trees. So you can use this a lot for monitoring forest structure. Okay, you have the optical data that everybody can see in the, for example, Google Earth, that is more intuitive, that's sensitive more to the biological, chemical characteristics of the forest, like chlorophyll and things like that. And you have LiDAR data sets. That's a sensor that able to provide you characteristics of the forest in 3D, for example. And it's much more expensive to acquire, but at the moment, I think we already have a lot of data sets. In UK, for example, you have this data for free. So in other countries, this is becoming a little bit more available as well. Okay. And I could continue talking a lot about this here, but yeah, so basically we have these three different things, and each one of them with one different functionality. That's more, you have limitations and positives, each one of them. And the tendency at the moment is to integrate and combine all this information to improve the estimatives of forest disturbances and structure estimation. Okay? So going to the point, so forest structure. So I'm focusing now more in biomass. I'm showing you two examples how to use this to estimate biomass, okay, and later on disturbances. For forest biomass, for example, today we are able to do this with a lot of uncertainties still, but we are able to calculate. You have many maps produced at global scale, but maps of biomass at global scale. Okay, but most of them is still with a lot of uncertainties. So this work, this example, it was produced by Santoro. I have contributed a little bit with some of the data sets used for this work. It's quite interesting. So basically, the terrestrial forest carbon pool is not very well quantified, and particularly in regions with low forest inventories, okay, that are not available. And we have another problem. We have places where you don't have forest inventory, and where you have this forest inventory, you have different methods of collection of the data, different sizes of plots, different years. So we have many uncertainties also related with what we are using as a reference to produce our biomass map. So in this study was using a lot of data sets, around 110,000 measurements of above ground biomass around the planet, okay, which was amazing to get all this data to be able to train the model, okay. So it was combined, as you can see, it was combined SAR data sets, in this case, like a different wavelength, that's L band, is a more large wavelength. It was combined with another types of SAR information, C band, that's a wavelength that's a bit smaller, to make possible to get different information of this structure, of this forest structure, okay, this different strata, and generate what we call growing stock volume with a backscatter. Backscatter is the, let's say, the reflectance kind of, if you think about optical, is backscatter will be what is coming back, what comes from the radar, what comes back from the interaction then between what is emitted from the sensor, interact with the forest, and come back. So backscatter is this interactions, what is coming back in terms of energy to the sensor and is registered there. Okay, so the backscatters between the L band and C band was combined, merged, and also you have some information from optical data sets as well. It was merged in this growing stock volume model, okay, and this was converted to above ground biomass, also using information. I think it was the water cloud model that they used. That's another model, a model that also used the wood density as a expansion factor for this above ground biomass. And this above ground biomass map was generated in 100 meters resolution, okay? And the uncertainty from this map, I'm not going to enter too much in details here, but the uncertainty was still high, around, I think, between 50 and 16 of the mean of above ground biomass reference, but it's one of the very good ones map that of above ground biomass globally that we have. We also have now other maps produced by ESA CCI, globally as well, and you can kind of do some comparisons between them as well. But again, with a lot of uncertainties, associated. And coming back what I said about the tropical forest, why so challenging to map? It's very challenging as well because you have this kind of different strategy, different structures, so diverse, so difficult to get plots that are representative for the entire tropics. So this map is the global biomass map from 2010, for example. And here you can see the standard deviation that is representing basically the uncertainty associated with this map. As you're seeing, you have the map here, the latitudes, and here as well. And then by the latitude, you can kind of see that the most of the uncertainty are concentrated in this area here. That's where we have the tropics, which makes sense. But even though it's very, very, very good map, I mean, it's a very good map, but we have uncertainties associated to that. And here you can see in colors as well the percentage of uncertainties associated with this map. Here you have a histogram of above ground biomass from the field inventory database. Yeah, in A and in B, you have the degrees value, okay, of the map. One thing that you can notice in this graphs that is basically showing your reference, the field inventory, and the estimation of our map for tropical, subtropical, temperate, and boreal and polar forests. What you can see in here by separation is that the most of the maps, they have a large uncertainty, okay? But even though, again, we have a map, We have maps now, because before we didn't have, okay? And yeah, and another thing that you can see is you have also a little bit of saturation as well in some of the maps. Okay, like here, for example, you can see that there is a saturation. Yes, so we have data, we have methods, different methods to estimate above ground biomass, and we have the uncertainty associated, and we are able, I think, from now on, to little by little reduce these uncertainties, because we have a lot of data available, and more some programs that are trying to standardize field plots to be used for remote sensing data sets. Okay, I think ESA is doing. I forgot the name of the program. They're doing this together with ecologists. I think people from forest plots are also involved somehow with them, trying to standardize or do a NASA as well with Laura Duncan, I think, trying to standardize and have some data collection, some protocols on how to collect data that would make more compatible, let's say, with satellite data sets, to reduce a little bit more the uncertainties. So there are different movements or different projects trying to do that. Besides the ESA CCI, we had some years ago Forest 2020 project that was funded by UK Space Agency and involved 6 different countries in the global south. And one of the things, besides the deforestation monitoring, improving or some forest monitoring systems in different countries, or help to establish the forest monitoring system in other countries, like, for example, Ghana and Kenya, and helping to improve other ones from, for example, Colombia, IDEAN. We had some collaboration with IDEAN in Colombia. And for Colombia, besides this, Colombia and Brazil, the focus of this project was to try to help to improve the biomass maps, or do some biomass maps that we didn't have before with a little bit more high resolution. And we use basically, again, this integration between different data sets. For example, in this case of the map of Colombia, we use ALUS Pulsar, Landsat. We use also some field plots. We didn't have LiDAR, but we used some field plots to build up then a random forest model, where you have some data sets from these field plots that were used for training of the random forest, and 70% and 30% for validation, okay? And here, and all of this was running Google Earth Engine, and we used the method called K-fold, to help to generate the uncertainties of this map. I'm not showing this here because I'm going to show you details for the next map. That is the map related to, that we use more or less the same type of method for the Brazilian Cerrado, to estimate above ground biomass of the Brazilian wood, above ground biomass of Brazilian Cerrado. So just to presenting to you what Cerrado is, né? What is Cerrado? Cerrado is the second largest biome in Brazil. You have the Amazon, and then you have Cerrado here. That basically is our Brazilian savanna, and it's quite complex also because it's formed by different types of forest formation. You have species that only happen in this area, okay, fauna and flora, including this mammal called lobo-guará, that is the only place on Earth that you have this type of mammal, between other species. But this is kind of the symbol. When we talk about Cerrado and fauna, we think about lobo-guará. So it's being fragmented, this area, a lot. And we are losing information about biomass, we are losing information about biodiversity, and a lot of, including a lot of medicinal plants that we have there as well. So there is a kind of project now trying to restore these areas and stop the expansion somehow of the agribusiness, which is quite challenging. It's very difficult to compete with this in Brazil. But yeah, there are some resistance, but it's still not enough. Okay, and what I mentioned to you, another interesting area is this area here. That is a transition between the two biomes that's completely forgotten. Okay, coming back very quickly, as you can see here, the transition area is the area that is exactly this area, that's the area that is suffering the most. It's like being beaten towards the Amazon. Okay, so here you have then the different, just for you to have an idea how is the biome, is a savanna, a type of savanna, but goes from grasslands formation, passing to the savannic formation to forest formation. For this biomass map, we're using basically the savannic and the forest formation, okay, to produce. We are producing the wood above ground biomass, okay? And the idea of this project was to generate an algorithm that would make possible to try to replicate when we have more field plots to the entire Cerrado. Okay, so we use as this experiment an area. This is the Brazilian Cerrado. We use this small area for the experiment, Rio Vermelho watershed. Okay, this you can see how you have here in the background a picture on what is happening with this biome, because you can see here how fragmented this biome is. You have some very few fragments here and there of native forest. And most of this is in a sea of crops. Okay, but you still can find dense areas of cerradão and wood, let's say wood savanna. Okay, so the problem again here is plots, is field information. Okay, so for doing the experiment, we chose this area because we had the unique area that we had LiDAR data sets. In a large scale, because we have a lot of data sets over Brazilian Amazon, LiDAR data, have many projects with a lot of LiDAR data, but in Cerrado don't have much, so we have only this line from 2014, this line here, 60 tiles of LiDAR in this area, and more representative of the Cerradão, that you say, né? Forest formation, savannic formation. And to do our experiment, we only had 15 plots. We didn't have more. We just only have 15 plots. So what we did, it was the two-step that also Thiago used a lot in the work. The two steps that we use the field plots to calculate, using allometric equations to calculate the biomass of this field. We did a multiple regression analysis using metrics from the LiDAR, this entire area here. Then we extrapolate the information from the 15 plots to this area here. And at the end, we use the information of this LiDAR, these stripes here, to train our model above ground biomass. Okay, so again, we use the representatives from these two types of the forest formation, savannic formation, to train our model. Okay, this is the gradient that the 15 plots had. So they have above ground biomass going from 19 megagrams by hectare to 103 megagrams by hectare. So comparing with, for example, rainforests is quite low in terms of wood above ground biomass, but is what we had. And the regression analysis that we did, it was this type of metrics that you had. So the above ground biomass was related with the canopy height and canopy cover. Okay, it was the equation that you generate with R square of 93% and RMSE of 13%. And here's like a little bit more detail of the LiDAR data that we have, okay, for the area. Again, methodology very similar to the other one that I showed before, but we use the field plots to generate above ground biomass from that cover. And then we use this one, all these pixels, to train 50% to train 70% to train our random forest model, and 30% to validation. And again, we use ALUS pulsar. In this case, we use the mosaics of ALUS pulsar, backscatter only, and Landsat images, NDVI, and some of the other metrics. Okay, and we use the K-fold as well. As we had so many assumptions, we needed to do the error propagation. So to calculate the uncertainty of this map in this experiment, we use the error associated with the field, the collection of the field, the error associated with the allometric equations, sampling, and the prediction as well. Okay, we did the propagation of that to generate our final map. And those are the data sets that we, more or less the method that we did. So we use Landsat data sets, the surface of reflectance. We masked the cloud from this. The spatial resolution of this data was 30 by 30. And then we use NDVI. There's some indexes, vegetation indexes here. And ALUS pulsar from the mosaics, 20 meters by 25 meters of resolution. Okay. And we used SAR indices that you can see here, and to correct some anomalies, because we used the mosaics and using Google Earth Engine, and so we had some problems in the images that we need to correct by doing some processing, some filtering, and some mosaicing and cleaning as well, to be able to use those images. So here's the variable importance of the random forest model. Just for you to have an idea, so when you use only the indexes of the reflectance, you have a lower R square. But then when you mix up backscatter and all the information with optical data sets, all the data sets together, you increase a lot the accuracy. This again is because with SAR you are more sensitive to the structure, geometry, water content, and optical more sensitive to the chemical and biological informations like chlorophyll, chlorophylla, and things like that. So you win the limitations of each one of them by combining them. Okay. Here's the cross-validation of our data sets, our reference, and here our above ground biomass map. We got our R square of 89 and a bias of 0.43 megagrams by hectare. And our certainty was around, again, it's kind of 50%, 40-50%. So it's still high uncertainty, but we have more details when you look at these images compared with the global one. Okay, so here's a map of our map, above ground biomass map, and here's the uncertainty associated. Okay, you have the distribution of the uncertainty associated to that. And here is just a visual comparison. We did as well some statistical analysis, but just a comparison visually. So in A, you have our map, okay, above ground biomass, a detail of an area in our above ground biomass. In B, we have another map, a global map from Baccini. In C, no, let me see, sorry. Santoro, this one, that you still have, this one is the map that I showed before, the global one. So comparing both of them, you're still able to see and understand some heterogeneity. You can see some heterogeneity here. The other ones, because the resolution is bigger, the other three maps from Sachi, Habitable, they have a very, very large high resolution, 1 kilometer, for example. And then, of course, you lose some information. But the objective of this figure is just to show you that focusing our map, we are able to preserve some of the variations much better than the other maps. Okay. I didn't put here, but the uncertainty of this map was around 50, between 46%, between 40 and 50% is still a high uncertainty. Okay. And so the main conclusion, so we generate this algorithm, and then later on, our partners, they use this algorithm, they added to that more information, more field plots, around, 1,800 field plots for the entire Cerrado, distributing in some areas, and generate another map using the same method on the forest and CART. And they still got 56% of uncertainties. And the conclusion is the same problem. We need more standardized field plots. We need more lighter data sets. We need more input data, more information to be able to generate a better map. And they're continuing doing that now. Barbara Zimbris is the name of the author that we are working with. And she and her group, with our support, she's using JEDI data sets, and perhaps just trying to use high resolution data sets, planet data sets as well, to put more data, because now we can, and try to improve this as well, integrating with more, to produce this above ground biomass map. Most of ecologists from Cerrado provided field plots, so it's still difficult. So we still struggle, but we are determined to generate a better map for Cerrado, because this is one of the reasons why we are very worried, and we would like to, because of the focus. Of course, we need to focus in the Amazon a lot, because it's very important, the rainforest in general as well. But the focus being the Amazon, all the programs is being in there. All the focus is being there. So the deforestation, here you have some graphs from PRODES, that the official forest monitoring system of Brazil, that is hosted in National Institute for Space Research. So we have here the graph showing the rate of deforestation of Brazilian Cerrado and the Amazon from 2021 to 2023. What you see is, because of the global pressure, the international pressure, the deforestation in the Amazon dropped a lot in 2023, and changed government and all of this. In Cerrado, it started to increase. You look at this and think, it's very timid, the increasing. It's not really, because it's very fragmented. So what is happening is close to the fragments, the few native forests that we have, and it's increasing. So this is why we're really trying to improve these maps. Okay, opportunities. Okay, almost finished. Opportunities in this contest is, again, we have many data. We have new high resolution data sets available for all the tropics for free. The planet data sets with high resolution. We have many advanced tools in artificial intelligence. For example, to produce that type of maps that I showed, we use machine learning, but now perhaps with deep learning, you can try to improve somehow, create new methodologies, and with the more connection with the ecologists to get together, build field plots and information. There is one more integration between ecologists and remote sensor in the last year, so it's quite good. And the challenges like it's still very difficult to calculate changes in above ground biomass with high accuracy. Therefore, all the carbon conversion, because we convert above ground biomass for carbon, is still with a lot of uncertainties, and sometimes some of the maps of carbon, they don't have this information. That is the uncertainty associated to that. And this is one of the critics that I think the carbon market is being receiving, right? Because, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties. Okay, I think I'm going to show you only one slide because our time is finishing, about forest disturbances. Okay, this was about the challenges, opportunities related to the forest structure. About forest disturbances, one of the things that, giving an overview quickly here, because of this, a lot of data sets, artificial intelligence and these data sets available to have, SAR, high resolution data sets, available for free, for example, again, Planet for the South America and Africa, the tropics, let's say. We are able to map, for example, blowdowns, that are the disturbances promoted by wind, and looking in very small areas, okay? By doing that, using deep learning and using Planet data sets. Here I have an example. In this case, we didn't use deep learning. The next example, you use deep learning for logging. But this is an example of an experiment that we did using 45 blowdowns or wind strolls in the Amazon. We did a comparison between Landsat, that's 30-meter resolution, and Planinic-Phi, that is 40.7 meters of resolution, using spectral mixture analysis that basically divided the spectral information in 3 different components: non-photostatic vegetation, green vegetation, and shade fractions. So we use this information and trying to map and monitor this area. Okay, this is the data from Planet, from the 45 individual blowdowns, and this is Landsat. That is not that continuous, right? And here is the last slide I'm going to show you. This is what we got with Planet data sets. We got the behavior. This is the mean, considering all the blowdowns, the behavior of the disturbances and how in the speed of recovery over time. Okay, how this area is recovered over time. You can see the photo here. You have the road and you have the blowdowns, close to the road, the format, and then the recovery over time. Last one. So besides the blowdowns, now it's also possible now to monitor selective logging, fires and edge effects in road constructions, very, very small area, logging, imagine, using Planet data set as well, using deep learning in this case. This was a study from a colleague called Ricardo Dalagnol, and he is creating a method. He created a method where he's able, using UNet deep learning, is able to detect logging, roads, and logging, forest fires, small scale forest fires, and road. He's able to do that. We are already able to do that. But again, the challenge is we are able to do that. But for logging, for example, there are some confusions between logging and blowdowns, small blowdowns as well. They are trying to correct that at the moment. Yeah, last slide. So general conclusions related to that. Sorry for being very fast in the last two studies, but you can read later on the papers. So Earth observation have achieved a lot of things, a lot of new products, produce new products, new information, new knowledge, using artificial intelligence, using new data sets, creating new opportunities, okay? But we still have a lot of way to go because of all the uncertainties that we still have. Still challenging, still a lot of things to be done. But we're on the way to do that, okay? So is this. Thank you, everyone, and for coming. And here's my contact if you want to talk later on or send an email or something. Thank you.
So just for anyone that does have to run away, because it's 2 o'clock, if people have 5 minutes to stick about for questions, I think we've got a little bit of time. No one's using the room after us, so we can maybe take a couple of questions, either from in the room or on Teams, if anyone has any questions. Okay, Alice is going before he runs away. So.
I have one very specific and one very general, so I don't know if I have to pick, but I might start with the very specific one. When you mentioned, first of all, very, very interesting what you presented. When you talk there about acceptance, is that acceptance that propagate like from the sun, and does it also implement scaling factors and everything? What type of acceptance is it?
No, when I was talking about uncertainty there, I was talking about the propagation of that uncertainty that we include. For example, when you go to the field, of course, you do your plots. You have some information about the species and so on. So in terms of this type of uncertainty, sometimes it's not the correct position, sometimes it's not the correct measurement that you do. And then you have, once you have that information, you have error associated to that. So we had this information from the literature, this information, this number, basically it was a number. Then you have the measurements, the position, the measurements itself, like the measurements, no, this is the measurements, the allometric equation. That is an equation that has an associated uncertainty to that. That, for example, is not 100% that the allometric equation that we use. For example, in the Amazon, you have like different types of allometric equation. You have the Xavi allometric equation. You have, I don't know, I forgot the name of the other ones, another 2 allometric equations. So according what allometric equation you apply using the field plots, you have different results. So you have the uncertainty associated to that as well, to the allometric equation.
So the 55% acceptance that you mentioned.
Yes.
This is the product acceptance.
Yes, a product uncertainty, the propagation.
It's the propagation as well.
Yeah.
It's like all the way from the satellite.
Yeah.
But when you do like the multi-sensor as well.
Sorry. This is I did wrong. The 50% is the error from the above ground biomass map.
Okay, this is an error there. It's not the acceptance.
Yeah, error. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I got confused. But in the first, I think one of the first slides, so you mentioned acceptance of the product, right?
Yeah, it's the error.
When you have a multi-sensor, when you use like the SAR and the LabSAT. And I was wondering if this includes, if this is propagated and also
error, yeah.
And if it takes into consideration this multi-sensor approach, and any scaling factors or any, like, coarser resolutions, etc.
No, we didn't consider that.
Okay.
No, we didn't consider that. This is another thing that needs to be, we just considered these things like the field, allometric, and the uncertainty related to the extrapolation, the scaling up. But the other, of course, we have other errors as well. We didn't consider that one.
Okay, but it was good to see, 50% acceptance, because even the aquatic remote sensing, we target 30, and it's really hard to get. And I always thought that on land, in forest, lower acceptances are more achievable, let's say.
Yeah, but I don't know. But yeah, I see what you mean. I feel the same. But the thing is, like, we are not going too far from the 50%. So this is as well is difficult. It's being hard to see that. Thank you too.
Thanks, you guys. Any other final questions? Armando.
Just wondering, would you see would be the future of the new sensor like biomass or NISA when it comes to the Cerrado?
Oh, I think this would be a game changing actually. Actually, I'm waiting for the biomass start since a long time because I think it'll be very. I think for Cerrado specifically, it will be very very good, very very good. Especially integrating biomass L band with C band because it's not like the Amazon that we have loads of vegetation. I think it'll be amazing. Yeah, for biomass. I think we can talk a little bit to how to reduce the uncertainty and how to really map the changes over time and calculate all of this. Yeah.
Also, for the Alice mosaic, you use the backscattering. Did you try to also do something with polarimetry?
No, we didn't. Actually, I have the data for the experiment. I didn't know yet. It's one of the things that I'm interested to do. Like we got for specifically this area of Rio Vermelho that I showed that we were with the experiment. We got Alus full pole. We didn't do yet, and Tandenex as well is one of the things that I would like to do.
But those are cool, but the coverage is not what you need. The mosaic is very good. But even if you just do a vegetation index, radar vegetation index, these kind of things. Even if you don't go full point, which you see there is the best, but it's very small.
Very small, yeah. No, good.
Good, yeah.
This is something that I'm interested to try.
I think the future is bright with biomass. We have a platform available all the times.
Me too. I'm looking forward to that.